An absolutely massive match.
It is going to be hype. We almost have to sort of breathe a little bit and just get ready for what is going to be a very long series, or at least hopefully. And it's almost expected to go the distance, and a lot of the players feel like that is going to be the case for this series.
We talked about Billa a lot. We talked about that Sombra a lot. How much does that Sombra impact, or how much can the Sombra impact here on Ilios?
I feel like we're not sure, right? Because the Sombra, Billa is the one who's going to play the Sombra the most out of all of 4 teams here. And it comes down, he is considered the best Sombra in Australia though. So I feel like when you're looking at it as Billa, I feel like it's going to make a big impact because he knows how to play that hero. Blank Blue are kind of, toying around with it on different maps, but we haven't really seen it to full effect. The interesting is the Moira, though. A lot of teams haven't really been utilizing the Moira as much. Sydney Drop Bears, though, they're a fast-moving team. They're aggressive. The Moira helps with that, with the speed. Yeah,
I feel like we've only seen Moira when it's come to quad tank or triple tank, right? But every other time it hasn't been the case. But we are underway. The teams are on stage duking it out. The Darkside and the Sydney Drop Bears. Now, we know Darkside had picked off this map. Let's see if it can come out just how they want to. We're going to start the day off here with Billa. Jordation's gone down first. Billa going to have to translocate out of there to start things off. Thermo now, we talked about how important a Pharah can be here as well on Ilios, particularly on Well.
Losing Jordation early, though, means Thermo hasn't really got a lot of pressure on him right now. You can see he's being aggressive, he's moving up, and he's getting a lot of damage from his rockets. Does have to move back a bit, but he does have Swilgo pocketing on the Mercy. Hits one onto Billa, who's just tried to translocate. They do get Punk's mech pop, and they follow it up by taking out the pilot mode.
Well, Thermo once again still being able to fire out damage here, and you can see the barrage coming through. Finds one, that's a Kraken. But Mooney and Punk, so Punk's going to come up and Mooney goes down, but the capture going over to Sydney Drop Bears. You can see a Kraken and Bertlog both ready to go with their support ultimates as well. And now Jordation trying to come through and put that pressure on. We've seen time and time again, when Thermo is not pressured on a Pharah, it is very difficult for their opponent.
Very interesting, though. He didn't really have that much pressure on him, and he still wasn't able to capitalize and get a lot of kills. He was getting damage, but it was all getting held up thanks to a Kraken. And Jordation, Bertlog, and a Kraken all have their ultimates up. The Coalescence, the Pulse Bomb, and the Sound Barrier is available, 28%. It's going to be the push-in from Sydney Drop Bears. They want blood right now. They find Molotov.
They started off with that Coalescence. You see it coming through. Billa going to get taken back out by Thermo. But they're still fighting on the point. They're still getting these ticks, and really, it's not being contested at all here by Darkside until right now. It's USC pushes through, throws out the Pulse Bomb, doesn't find. There you go. Actually, Bertlog goes down. That's huge. No support ultimate, no sound barrier come through right now. The self-destruct coming through, won't find anyone. USMC still pushing, and there you go once again. That barrage will find Shoyo. So, maybe Darkside to bring this back.
Yeah, they're looking like they're going to bring it back. Bertlog, unfortunately, just running back into the Pulse Bomb. It can happen when you're so speedy and fast. The hack onto Thermo is going to have to bring him down from the air. The sound barrier has been used, but Bertlog gets the double boop onto Molotov and Mooney. That will turn the tide, and Sydney Drop Bears, they've had control the entire time. It's up to 71%. Darkside lose a fight.
That's huge because they were so close to capping that. They invested quite a lot into it, only for Bertlog to come through with the right click and remove every ounce of hope here for Darkside. So we've got Mooney and USMC ready to go with ultimates, but we get to 85% now. The Drop Bear is very, very close to picking up well.
Right now, Thermo's Pharah is just not having the impact they would like to have. USMC does have a Pulse Bomb, though. He needs to get this one to connect. And get an early kill onto Billa, though. That's huge. Means he wasn't able to translocate away in time. Coalescence was coming out from a Kraken. Didn't have too much of effect. And the Pulse Bomb from USMC finds the target onto Quads.
Finally, Darksiders should be able to bring this one back. USMC will go down. We're into overtime here. Still a couple of people alive for both teams, but there we go, Darksiders. 99% is what it took for them to finally capture this point. It's going to be a big ask for them to hold it all the way through now.
But this is where Darksiders do well. With Thermo and the Pharah, it's going to make it difficult for Sydney Drop Bears to come in without, they've got to dodge all these rockets that are going to be pretty much raining down from above. But at 99% for the Sydney Drop Bears, they only have to win one more fight for the entire round here on Well.
Well, they haven't really saved up many ultimates for now. Just Jordation. You see that Pulse Bomb coming through and not finding anyone this time around. Thermo ready to go with that barrage once again. We'll see how it'll be used. See if this is the time. The capture is coming through. They need to be very, very careful. They've let it get quite far right now, and USMC, the first one to drop. We'll wait and see when this barrage comes through. They certainly do not want to let this Sydney Drop Bear rosters find the capture. Oh, and the double self-destruct. Jordation and Bertlock both going down. Darksided will secure it once again.
I'm not sure, though, if the Rocket Barrage was required from Termo at the end to confirm the kill onto Quats. As you said, double kill, self-destruct from Punk, completely winning that fight for Darksided. But look at this. They've absolutely used all of their ultimates. They've got nothing in the economy. Billa has the EMP. Jordation with the Pulse Bomb and a Kraken with the Coalescence City. Drop Bears are set up right now. They've got the money in the bank to finish off this next fight. It should go their way. They've just got to absolutely complete it, play this one safe, and they should be able to come out.
Time and time again, we've seen a good EMP is enough to win a fight. They've got that in addition to support ultimates and that pulse bomb. See the sound barrier now going to come out across the board, trying to keep them alive, and a lot of work to be done now for Darksided. This might be it. I don't think that they can come back from here. Surely the Drop Bears find this through. You see the Coalescence just to wash things down, and that should be enough for the Drop Bears to pick up round number 1.
Round number 1, and it was a great flank from Shoyo, and he was able to come around the back, and well, for Sydney Drop Bears using their ultimates, as I said, they were able to have that economy, and that's where I'm not sure if Termo's Rocket Barrage would have really changed too much for that fight, Ben, but I still feel like he didn't need to use it in the previous fight.
Sometimes, you know, like, is he aware the self-destruct came out? So often you see the self-destructs do come through. They really don't find anything. Maybe he thought now was the time. I suspect as soon as he hit that Q button, he was like, oh, I probably wish I hadn't have done that. Yeah.
And for Darksided, they'd be disappointed with that because they feel like they're strong on control point maps. Coming into Ruins, though, I bet they're happy we're on Ruins because Termo's Widowmaker should get the better of Jordation's Widow. They should be winning this fight.
Yeah, in the Widow versus Widow matchup, we've seen time and time again just how good Jordation really is. In this situation, let's see how it plays out. But I don't know whether we're going to see a swap off at some point or not. It'd be nice if one of them at least hit each other. That would be a good start.
I mean, you don't tend to see the swaps unless one Widow is absolutely, completely owning the other. If it's even, they'll continue to hold on to it, but Jordation, the lesser of the two. Shoyo's going to push in. The point's already starting to get ticked over for Darksided. They've got the presence on the point, and they get the first kill onto Billa.
They do. That's a great start. We saw the Drop Bears getting a little bit caught there in the alleyway, so that's less than ideal. But both Punk and Molotov now going down. Drop Bears starting to bring it back one by one. And to be fair, this should be enough now for them to capture the point. Yeah,
Jordation with a great headshot onto Molotov, opening it up for the Sydney Drop Bears. Termo just not having the same impact. Wasn't able to get a whole lot done. And again, we talk about that's sort of the breaking point for Darksided. They're expected to be able to have the Widow that makes more impact, and yet it was Jordation who was able to have the impact on that fight.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure whether he would just position well. Maybe it's because his team is pushing forward, putting pressure on Termo. There's a lot of things at play, but for now, the Drop Bears looking pretty good. Once again, they find that first capture. And in terms of this ultimate economy as well, not looking bad. Quats now goes down, and Termo finds a Kraken back with a lovely headshot. Oh my goodness, Shoyo goes down. The self-destruct will not find anyone, and Darksided now surely bring this one back.
It's almost like Termo heard me call him out a little bit, and he said, okay, let's get the action rolling, let's get started. And it was only 35% for City Drop Bears, not too much. And for Darksided, that was a really good fight because they also got the self-destruct out from Shoyo. So to win that fight after he used that ult, otherwise Sydney Drop Bears would have had all 6 available. Jordation has used his infrared sight though, so 4 ults for Sydney Drop Bears, only going to be the 3 for Darksided.
Oh, Termo almost getting the better of Jordation there with the infrared sight, looking for a pick, would love to find the Mercy. Not now, unfortunately. Tick, tick, ticking away. The Drop Bears trying to bring this one back. They had the ultimates ready to go, but they've used quite a number of them now. You see the primal raids coming out from Quads. He does find 2. This should be enough for them to capture it back and well.
And that's what Quads does so well. Yeah, he gets into that front line and he's able to not only shield for his team, but he's able to get kills. He frags out, he's aggressive, wins the point back for Sydney Drop Bears, 39% for Darksided. And again, you could see we were looking at Termo a bit. He was getting pressured by Billa, putting him off, making sure he's not able to get those easy shots.
So far, so good for the Drop Bears. If they can pick this one up, they're going to be 1 up in map score, and that's precisely what they want to do, considering Darksided were the ones to pick Ilios.
Yeah, they were the first seed. This is the map that they wanted to play, that they wanted to take Sydney Drop Bears to. And Jordation right now proving a couple of people wrong. He's able to make an impact so far. Pulse Bomb available for Bella, and he's going to utilize it early, getting quite a lot of damage. USMC getting low. Mooney's just about to die and fall over, and he does. So both Winstons out of this fight.
Yeah, one tank for a tank, but Quats does come back. Bertlog there with the resurrection. Self-destruct used on the point as that mech gets very, very damaged. Termo holding back, trying to find some picks right now. Would love to grab the Mercy once again. Not going to be possible. Quats going to clean him up. 81% as Darksided do try and bring this one back, but it's the Drop Bears still on the point. 15% away from victory.
And really got no ultimates to use to come back and win this next fight. 91%. It's going to hit into overtime for Sydney Drop Bears, and all Darksided have is a self-destruct. USMC will be able to build up a pulse bomb throughout the fight, but there's no real support ultimates. Turbo with an early pick though onto Jordation. Opens it up. It's go time. They've got to get in there.
That could be crucial. Bertlog once again with a key resurrection there onto Jordation, bringing him back into the fight. Self-destruct, as we talked about, now going off in the middle of the battlefield. No one's going to be found out there. USMC with this pulse bomb just doesn't want to get it. Eden, that's a nice one. Won't be enough. Oh no, Shoyo will lose the mech. Quats has gone down as well, so a couple of tanks now going down for the Drop Bears. The capture going across to Darksided. That's precisely what Darksided needed.
And they finish off Billa, get a quick revive onto Molotov. But again, ults were used to win that fight for Darksided. They will have Mooney's Primal Rage when he comes back, but so will Quats. And Quats is probably the more effective Winston in terms of his Primal Rage usage. 54%, and again, as we saw in the last round, Ben, one more fight for Sydney Drop Bears is all they require now. And what a start. Jordation headshot onto Termo.
That's precisely what the Drop Bears want to see. Quats ready to go with that Primal Rage. But Billa and a Kraken both now going down. Primal Rage going to come out from Mooney. This might be one fight that they have to give up. Reset. Try once again. The Primal Rage still pushing through. Finally going to just get out of dodge. Mooney stays alive.
I need healing.
Well, Mooney pretty much popped the Primal Rage in response to losing Termo, knowing that he needed to be aggressive and sort of find something back. Otherwise, Sydney Drop Bears were going to push right onto them onto the point. 86% though, this next fight does drag out. It is going to be double overtime, which means that both teams will be at 99%. Whoever wins this next fight essentially wins the round.
Double overtime is my favorite, and Shoyo getting into the thick of things here. You can see once again that self-destruct ready to go. Everyone's still alive. You can see the right click pull out real strong here right now. Self-destruct comes through, but Shoyo gets caught out by Termo. When he's out of the mech, that is certainly less than ideal. No resurrection available, and Punk going to take down Jordation now. Darksided with the players in advantage. As you said, both teams now in overtime, 99% to 99%. Drop Bears bringing it back. Quats doing huge damage. Swilko and Molotov, those two supports are down. Finally, Punk brings one back. They're fighting it out. But one by one, Termo with two huge kills here, Xenox.
Yeah, Shoyo coming back, but all he can really do is delay the inevitable. He's going to get popped immediately. And Darksided will even up Ilios. It's 1-1.
Wow. Wow. That was close. And to be fair, I feel like that Primal Rage coming out from Darksided really saved it for them in the end.
I think it did. You know, responding like that, a lot of teams might go into their shell and think, we've just lost Termo, we're down 6-5, but Mooney pressed the go button essentially with the Primal Rage. It was the Q button, and pretty much took it straight to Sydney Drop Bears and was able to get 2 kills because of it. Tied 1-1, but that round felt more like what we expect out of this series rather than what we saw in Well.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a slow start again. It's a bit odd coming through to land. Some of these players have played here before. Some of them are new to it, and it's a weird experience. You're not at your desk. You're not at a LAN cafe. All the boys are here. You're ready to go. You've got those headphones on as well. It's a bit of a pain to play in. So this is what it's going to come down to. The Drop Bears kind of probably feel like they were close to picking this one up, and now they have to start all over again.
Well, we're going to be finding out here on Lighthouse who's going to take map number 1 on this best of 5 series. Termo on the Farah again, and Billa back over to the Sombra. It didn't work out quite well last time for Darksided. What have they learnt here? Have they learnt what to do?
Yeah, well, we'll see whether Termo can get the better of the Drop Bears this time around here on the Farah. Almost finding one, doing a bit of damage. Again, uncontested. You can see the capture did start to head across there to the Drop Bears. The Darksided finding the better of them. Jordation and Bertlog both going down. Quat says, let's reset. Yeah,
very interesting to see that, you know, they were so grouped up there, Sydney Drop Bears. It was free reign for Termo, and that's why he's up to 91% on his Rocket Barrage already, doing out so much damage. I bet he has very much gold damage in this, you know, particular round so far. I feel like Sydney Drop Bears just need to separate a little bit more from what we saw in the first round. That's what they did. And Termo is really trying to focus down the supports more than anything. USMC with a pulse bomb. What can he find? Can he get an early pick?
We'll see whether it plays out. Haven't used it just yet. Back onto the point, and the barrage comes through. Quads goes down, but Termo now found out by Bill. The Coalescence going to come through from the drop bears. Should be enough to push them through. Maybe they'll get a recapture here. Punk has lost his mech, and you saw USMC getting picked up as well. Once they lose that Mercy, that should be that. The drop bears, you think, will capture this one.
Swilko using the Valkyrie after both USMC and Termo died immediately. There was no more DPS left in that fight for Darksiders. The fight was over. They had lost it. There was no way they were going to get that back. And the Valkyrie wasn't going to change anything. Now they've used an ultimate that they could have stayed going into the next fight. They could have had a Valkyrie, Self-Destruct, and the Primal Rage. A big waste for Darksiders, and it could come back to hurt them.
Mercy's ultimate, maybe not what it used to be, but still very, very strong. And you can't afford to be throwing it away when the competition is so very close between these two teams. Here's the sound barrier coming through right now. EMP over the top. That's going to make a huge difference in this fight. Both Swilko and Molotov going down. Once again, Darksiders falling one by one as the drop bears get the better of them.
And this is where the Sombra is going to be very strong, being able to set up defensively, hacking all those health packs. It makes it so that when Darksiders are taking damage, the only way to get hit, health back is through Swilko and Molotov, and not being able to use those health packs. So 45% now for the Sydney Drop Bears as they start to climb up. They still have the self-destruct from Shoyo, but the economy is in favor of Darksiders. They need to not waste this now. They should be getting the point back, and an early Transcendence will come out from Molotov as they push this fight onto the point.
They will and do. Let's see what Termo can do with this barrage as well. We've seen so many bad barrages this season in Aussie Contenders, but Bill are going to go down. It's going to help things out. Mooney finds a kill as well. They haven't used too much so far, and Termo still sitting on that barrage, not needing it for now. Going to use it. What looks like a very, very good time to self-destruct, however, will catch him out in the end. The cap may be coming back out here from Darksiders. We did see Termo go down, but USMC brings one back, and that should be enough.
It was almost like Termo was just staring into his fate, seeing that self-destruct in front of his eyes.
Oh, man.
Knowing it's like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about that. But it was a smart use in the end. Obviously, you don't want to technically use it when that Diva can sort of counteract you by, shifting into your defense matrix. He knew that the mech was gone, and then he pop set was able to get use out of it. Swilko does have his Valkyrie back now, but USMC, the only other player that will have an ultimate, unless he dies here, he's been hacked and he's been absolutely caught out. He can't blink away, and he's unable to survive the push coming out from Sydney Drop Bears, as Quats does die, but so does Mooney.
Yeah, that's it. Again, those Winstons both going down at the same time, trying to recapture this point. We're at 70-79% right now. Darkseid is still with everyone alive, but Drop Bears with a couple of ultimates coming up. You can see that EMP ready to go as well. So next time the Drop Bears come around, this may be enough to get them across the line. 79% for Sydney, but it's 82% and ticking up for Darksiders. USMC with a Pulse Bomb. Molotov will have the Transcendence. And the EMP and Sound Barrier available for Sydney Drop Bears in the next fight, along with the Pulse Bomb from Jordation. So they've got the ultimates that they need, to accomplish the win here, and they need to get it. And it's going to hit it 99% for Darksiders. Please tell me someone's on the point, and they are. It ticks over to overtime. The EMP from Bella comes straight out. The and a Kraken straight away. Wow, that's huge play there coming out from Termo. Going to find the boop and then a double kill, making 3 in total between that and the rocket barrage. And Darksiders should pick up the overtime. Darksiders going to pick up Ilios. Darksiders going to pick the first map up here at Overwatch Contenders Australia Playoffs, our first semi-final. Well, they picked the map, Xenox, and in the end, they did get the victory.
They did. It was a hard-fought victory. Round one on Well, on Well, didn't quite go their way, and it looked like Sydney Drop Bears might actually be able to take Ilios going into Ruins. Jordation actually looked quite strong on the Widowmaker, where we thought maybe Termo would be too strong.
Yeah, it was a very, very close game. That first round, honestly, really surprised me. Pixie, how are you feeling? You're taking this all in. Is this all the Overwatch up to standard of what you've been seeing overseas?
It was, pretty good game of Overwatch. You get the double 99-99. That doesn't happen by accident, right? But, that was just classic Helios right there. And the thing I actually love about it is the stuff that ended up being the difference maker for Darksiders there were exactly the things we talk about as being very classic of the Helios. Things like the Widowmaker on Ruins, things like the Pharah, unfortunately didn't have the same impact on Well, but after that it felt like, after the Widow, Termo kind of shook off the rust a little bit. That Lighthouse was beautiful out of him.
That's why I love Control as the first first map, right, in this sort of matchup where you can have a round to warm up, you can drop one, and it really doesn't have that much of a consequence. Once it's over, right? You just need to win the next 2 maps.
And that's the thing, right? When we get to the Ruins map and then we end up on Lighthouse, that's when you see Darksider really wake up. Now, I want to highlight the differences in play with the Widowmaker on Ruins as well. You see how much space, when given to Terma, how much he can actually take with that. The same thing happening to Jordation, not quite the same thing. You don't see the same amount of pressure come out of Jordation, don't see the same amount of kills. Terma, when he makes that space, he's getting a lot of kills. Now, Quatso, I also do want to highlight from DropBears on that particular map because he was the one shutting down Terma a lot of the times. That's how DropBears were able to win a lot of fights, but ultimately couldn't take the map.
How do we feel about this overall, Pixie? You've seen enough of this now to start getting a feeling. We're getting the cobwebs out. We've seen these teams on LAN. Starting to get an inkling of where this is going to end up?
I mean, my initial inkling is that I feel like the 3 of us making the call that Darksider take it all is kind of looking more and more apt, right? But,
wow.
I mean, to speak with a little bit more detail, I'm now a little afraid that this is going to be a case, not necessarily of Darksider winning it, but of Sydney DropBears losing it. And I know that's quite rough to say, but like, we talked so much about things like the Sombra out of Billa, and they've got like the strongest Sombra comp and all that. We saw him on Sombra like the whole way through, just didn't really have that impact. It's like, if the thing that you are currently most feared for isn't doing it for you, what will?
So, when we talk about maps, we talk about the Sombra. We're heading into the next map selection here, and the DropBears do now get to pick. Do we have any expectations of what they're going to do here? Do we think we're going to find something that Sombra is a little bit better at?
I mean, possibly, but you know what was very interesting was on Ruins, we saw Billa move over to the Tracer, and he was actually quite effective there. And obviously, you know, so was Jordation on the Widow, and I almost was a little bit nervous. I was thinking, oh, I think this might be a 2-0 on Ruins. So I don't think the Sombra is the be and all. It's definitely not the only thing that Sydney DropBears can do, and they might elect to move away from that. If they feel like Darksider have got the better of them, they might change things up a little bit.
The thing about this particular match that for me is so crazy is that halfway through round 2, we were so close to seeing DropBears win it. And all it took was that Winston coming through, that Primal Rage, and that was what turned the game on its head. That was the point where all of a sudden Darksider went, oh, we should probably win this.
I mean, that is the caliber of Mooney and Punk as the 2 tank players on this team, right? Like, it's the confidence that comes with that. And I think, I mean, it showed the whole way through one way or another. Like, there was also sort of the opposite side of that coin, a really great fight on Lighthouse where Mooney was actually down real early. Punk was just kind of left there as the sole tank and just got as much as he could out of every single hit point he had on that mech before losing it. And then didn't even die after that point. He was able to get back in the mech. That is how you know a D.Va has played well. They get as much as they can while they've still got the mech up. And by the time that's done, the fight has gone well enough that they don't get picked off in that D.Va form.
Well, as we said before, the DropBears are going to be the ones picking this one. It's going to be Hollywood. Now, AVRL, Hollywood is the only one of these 2. Is it only one? They've lost 1 on Hollywood, 1 on Dorado. So, considering they haven't lost very many maps at all, is it a thing where hybrid is not necessarily their bread and butter?
I don't think that is necessarily a really finite thing that we can set in stone that we can really say here. They've only really lost maps to Masterminds, who during the regular season I think were deservedly the best team, at least in their group. Now coming into map number 2 here, I would have picked Hollywood instead of Numbani for Sydney DropBears as well. I feel like this plays much better into their player style, their compositions. Billa onto the Sombra again has really good routes that he can take over here. Also Jordation, you're going to see him sniping on Widow again, probably going to be quite effective. If that doesn't work, you will also see a Genji, but that's going to be plan C in the wheelhouse of Sydney DropBears.
What do you reckon, Pixie?
Yeah, I actually think exactly the same. This is where that Sombra and the Widowmaker can really shine. I had to add a bit of a caveat to the Widowmaker, just because on Ruins we did see quite reliably Termo getting the better of Jordation. Not necessarily in the 1v1. In fact, I think the only time one picked the other was actually Jordation killing Termo. But in terms of the overall impact, we did see Jordation getting suppressed quite a lot by Termo sightlines. Also saw Termo in general getting more work done on the other members. But that's in the past.
Well, it certainly is in the past. We're heading over to Hollywood, a very long, long way away from Sydney, Australia, Xenox, but one of my personal favourite maps here in Overwatch. The DropBears have picked this one up. Why do we think that is?
Well, one thing that hasn't been discussed, or at least noted, is Billa's Genji ability, known to be a very good Genji. It was actually his staple quite a long time ago, and he's been able to expand his hero pool nowadays. So, interesting to see them pull this out. They still have a Kraken on the Moira. Again, pretty much the only team I've seen of these four so far that utilizes that Moira.
I think Moira is so strong at the moment as well, so it's great to see, not just in those quad tank situations that we so often do see Moira used here in Contenders in Australia. But the dive's going to come out straight away from the drop bears. They're getting into the cafe and finding it out. USMC going to go down first. Turmo looking low, but still doing a ton of damage. Almost going down, still staying alive. Finally, Mooney picked up Shogo. Going to get demeched here. They get almost 2 captures. There's 2. That's a great start. Can the drop bears make it 3?
I mean, Swilko, you got to give him credit there, keeping Turmo alive. He got down to about 3 health, and he was able to get the heals from both Swilko and Molotov to stay alive and keep having an impact. And he's got the Riptire available now. Sends this one out. Who can he find? He's going to be able to find Show in the pilot mode. It's not really the biggest trade, and it might backfire for Darksided as the kills start to come out for City Drop Bears, and they're getting this point to tick. Only USMC left, caused a bit of a nuisance, but it's going to tick over, and it's captured.
It certainly is, and we saw, wow, so strong there on attack is Billa on the Genji. He found 2, then found a 3rd. That was actually insane, I must admit. That was insane.
And it's interesting, though, and I mean, I'm going to be honest here as well. I almost completely forgot Billa's Genji is that good, and it's something we didn't touch on. You know, everyone's been talking about his Sombra. He can obviously play the Tracer. We saw that on Ruins, but his Genji might even be better than probably both of them, because that's what he used to be known for. To pull this one out, maybe this is a bit of a hidden strat that they, well, not hidden, everyone knows he can play Genji, but something they maybe haven't been playing. Yeah,
haven't seen it played purely because when we came into Contenders, that was when Sombra really got that buff, and then all of a sudden it was like, who can play Sombra the best? Who's the team that will make the most of this? And we were a little bit wondering at the start, I suppose, are any of these teams going to use it? A lot of the teams didn't, because they just purely felt that they were mechanically better than some of the other teams that they were going up against in the start. But the Drop Bears were one of those teams that brought it out. Billa, of course, so strong in it, and that's why, as you say, maybe we just haven't seen that Genji recently. But to kick things off, it was their first push on attack, and they came through and they cleaned it up in about a minute.
Yeah, and guess who started that push? It was Quats, and that's how it goes for Sydney Drop Bears. Quats pushes in, starts the fights, and then the DPS start to flank around and cause havoc, especially looking for the supports, whereas Quats actually deals with a lot of the front line. What was very interesting, though, I mean, at one point I seriously thought Darksided were going to be able to hold on and win that fight, because keeping Turmo alive for that long, the amount of pressure he was under, the amount of damage he was taking, and yet he wasn't able to get anything with his Riptide. Now, we got the kill on the pilot mode Diva, but it's not enough. And
well, it was too late, right? By that point, we'd already seen 2 of those Billa kills coming out from the Genji. There's just not that much that you can do. By the time you get it going, right? It's like trying to get your lawnmower going in the afternoon when you got to do a big line. Like, wow, man, I've done like 5 rips of this lawnmower. Finally, you get it going. By the time he gets it out, pulls the ripcord, sends it through, it's too late.
Yeah, it was too late, and then the target that he did get was just not big enough. It wasn't a threat, really, and as he said, it was too little, too late. So a great start for Sydney Drop Bears, but we saw this a little bit, didn't we, on Ilios, where they were the team that started well, and Darksided were able to respond. The question is now, will they be able to respond? I did see before the pause that Turmo switched over to the Widowmaker,
right?
So already trying to change things up defensively for Darksided.
And something that we've seen a number of times so far that I don't necessarily think we'll see here is sometimes the attacking team can get such a roll on from the first point here on Hollywood that they can get through that high ground second phase very, very quickly, particularly when the defensive team is sort of one at a time, just trying to trickle onto the point, trying to hold it back. By the time they all regroup, it's too late. I don't think that's the case here. I actually think that Darksided will be in a pretty good position coming through to defend.
I mean, you particularly see that for whatever reason in overtime matches when you can just ride that overtime bar all the way, but you don't generally see it as much, as you said, throughout the regular normal time. And I think with Widowmaker for Turmo, obviously he's got that high ground advantage. I'm slightly surprised that we're not seeing the Pharah. He does use the Pharah defensively, and obviously with that high ground, but because of the way that Hollywood's structured, you can sort of get heroes up onto that high ground and get close to the Pharah a bit easier. I'll be definitely interested to see if he's going to bring out the Pharah on attack in the second phase for Darksided, but the Widowmaker, he's got to make an impact. if they're going to defend this. If he actually doesn't make an impact, then it's essentially a 6v5. And then I think maybe we could see Sydney just push through Street's face.
That really is. That's the problem with Widow, right? That it's the point of the Widow is you're going from essentially a 6v5 and you're trying to make it either a 5v5 with it you can then come in, or maybe a 5v4, right? When you're not going up an opposing Widow. But if you have no impact, the rest of your team's fighting it out by themselves, and automatically that puts them at a disadvantage. It's really quite a risky play sometimes on some of these maps.
In saying that, a lot of the times when the Widow's not making an impact, it's because they're being pressured, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's the Tracer, or even the Diva likes to, you know, push forward and get onto the Widowmaker. And so if that's the case, then I guess it's a 5v5 for the most part, and especially if it's the Diva, you're taking away
that's not
the
a
tank.
bad trade, right?
That's not a bad trade at all, as you know. And so it's going to be interesting to see possibly how Sydney adapt to that Widowmaker now coming out on the second point. Obviously, I would assume that they've realized it because of the up on top, but they're going to have to be ready for it. And Termo's well and truly capable of playing that Widowmaker very, very strongly. And the Moira just seems to also to be working out for Sydney. And I'm not sure why, you know, the way that the Sydney drop pairs composition lines up, they play the Moira, they'll play the Sombra, and yet the other teams besides Blank Blue kind of dabbles a little bit. They're a dabbling team, whereas Sydney will just go in and they will use that and they play it quite strongly. But for whatever reason, Masterminds and Darkside are just not interested in that composition. Yeah,
it's for me the thing that I love about these top 4 teams that we have seen come through to our semi-playoffs is that they're actually quite a bit different. It's not the same. They're not all just playing dive. They don't have the same team comps. Half of them went to boot camp. Blank said, you know what, we're not going to go to boot camp. We're going to play Blank from Pacific Contenders online all week and see what they can do to us. If they smash us down for a week, maybe we can learn something from it. Like there's quite a lot of difference here. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that what do you think is the what's the most advantageous position? Do you want to be in this first semi-final? Do you want to come in early, have an early breakfast, play your game, get it out of the way, then go into the player lounge, assuming you've won, of course, and watch your opponents play their semi-final? Or do you want to come in, have a bit of a relaxed morning, watch the game, then play your game, and then theoretically be warmed up for the grand final?
Well, you've almost answered your own question, Ben, because you got positives to both, don't you, really? So if you're playing this first series, as you said, you're getting it out of the way, you know, you're warming up, and then if you win, you get that small break before you head into what very well will be a long grand final, a best of 7. So you're going to be having that break and be prepared. But obviously, as you said, for the second semi-final, you get to watch well and truly watch these first 2 teams, see how they play. Obviously, then you'll realize who you would be playing if you do win your semi-final. And then if you do win that semi-final, you go straight into the grand final, you're warmed up, you're ready to go, you're hyped. You don't quite get as long of a break, obviously, but I don't think they would be too upset with that. So there's positives to both, and it's how the teams look at them.
Yeah, and I'm also very interested to have an understanding of who have these teams prepared for. Have they just really prepared for their semi-final? Is it just, I want to make it to that best of 7 and then I'll think about my opponents? Or is it, we'll do 90, 80% of our prep for our semi, but we're still going to look at those other 2 teams? I don't know if it's worth it. It's difficult. I guess there are so many competitions, though, where you can come into where the format is you don't really know who you're going to play. And there's a lot of competitions where you come through at the start of the day and you drop into a different bracket, right? And you don't know who that is. But these, it could be one of 2 teams. So we can talk about that a little bit more later. But as we said, that high ground very much secured here by Darkside on defense, and particularly with 3 ultimates ready to go.
Well, it was almost like a very long tactical pause for Darkside. They might not have been too upset with that break, but as you said, Termo on the Widowmaker, but 4 ultimates in favor of Darksided here. They've got the economy to retake this fight, and a good start as Termo gets the headshot onto Jordation. That's going to force Sydney drop burst back immediately, and with that, we're not going to see that roll-on or snowball effect that you mentioned before.
Yeah, they're going to have to reset here. Darkside are going to have great positioning. As you can see, they managed to win that fight without using any of their ultimates. Only Termo now with Infrasight not ready to go. But of all of them, that's probably the one maybe less relevant right at this second. So a very good position for Darkside to make a stand here, something they very much need to do, considering how average their first hold was.
They do have all 5 ultimates, and Darksided are a team that aren't really the best with their economy. They're not always sure when to actually use their ults, but in this case, they need to be the aggressive team. But it's going to be Billa first, and as you can see, takes out USMC. That means no pulse bomb. Squirgoes looks for the res, and he's able to find it as he usually does.
That's a good start, but Molotov now going to go down, and no resurrection going to come out there onto him. So, less than ideal. They push through the self-destruct. You can hear that one as well. There's the pulse bomb, but Shoyo going to go down to pump, and that self-destruct USMC found out in return. Mooney not yet using the Primal Rage and not being able to push it through. Perhaps not wanting to push it through at this point. I don't know whether that was the right time or not.
And Mooney still having that Primal Rage available. Shattered that he wasn't able to get that up because it's such a great delaying ultimate. So hard to take him out and causes a lot of havoc for the Sydney drop bears in that. In saying that, Sydney did use all of their ultimates. They've got absolutely nothing coming into this next fight. It might actually be a blessing in disguise for Darkseid because they have Mooney who has that Primal Rage and he's sneaking around the back. He's playing this like a stealthy assassin right now, but he is not quite that stealthy. He's a big monkey after all. He's looking to pop that Primal Rage now.
There's only so much you can do when you're bouncing around the map, and Primal Rage, as you said, now Pop trying to fight this one through. Everyone's still alive. But what amazed me was the Darkseid actually dropped 5 ultimates in that last fight and still lost it on defense. That's a huge deal. Very, very bad for that ultimate economy. You can see Jordation here on attack, holding back, not pressured at all, getting off a little bit of damage, maybe not having the impact that he wants to have right now, but still not losing that much from doing it. Punk will find his counterpart there right as that Coalescence come through. Dragonblade finds nothing as well. Great defense now from Darkseid right when they needed to do it.
Yeah, and Billa using the Dragonblade gets no kills from that at all. Bertlog's just going to have to save this sound barrier because they're losing the fight. USMC, that's a little bit toxic, but 2 minutes and 10 seconds for Darksided here on the streets phase. They're looking really strong. They've got 4 ultimates in the bank as well, and look at Sydney's economy. It's in shatters right now, only the sound barrier. They used everything, came up with nothing. And the hold here on the high ground is going to be so good for Darksided.
No one can.
And they've got an infrared side as well, just to make matters worse for the Sydney drop bears. And Jordation is eliminated straight away from the map.
That's a great, great start here for Darkseid on defense. Termo going to get the better of Kraken, going to go down as well. Now drop bears going to have to drop all the way back into their spawn. And what was a time bank of about 4.5 minutes, Xenox is now not looking that good. They got 2/3 of the way there. But the reality is that 2/3 is not enough.
No, it's not. But as you said, they have pushed the streets phase. They're probably still just one team fight away from being able to capture that second checkpoint. But they just don't have the economy now. Billa, you know, pretty much wasting that Dragonblade earlier on. Quatch wasn't able to get the Primal Rage to be too effective. No support ultimates coming into this fight except for the sound barrier and Molotov's Transcendence. So sound barrier coming out from Bertlog to kickstart the fight, but immediately countered by Molotov's Transcendence. We'll go with the Valkyrie as well. And an early kill for Jordation might turn things in favor of Sydney.
Yeah, that may just be enough. We'll see whether the Resurrection can come through or not. Self-destruct going to make life now very, very difficult. Over the top, finding no one. Punk going to get back into that mech. But it's the drop bears sitting on the point right now as the Kraken gets picked up. They're going to come back. You can see Billa looking very low, and now Quat's up the top as well. Up against Termo. Maybe he's going to go down. He does actually go down to Termo. That's a huge deal. Darkseid is starting to bring this back one by one by one. And USMC going to push through, find Bertlog. And now with 30 seconds on the clock, this is very much less than ideal as they slowly start to fall. They're going to have one shot at this, one chance to get it across the line here in phase 2, but I don't know if they're going to be ready.
I mean, Darkseid just looks switched on right now, don't they? I mean, all of us from the desk predicted Darkseid to take the series, but we thought it would be very close, 3-2 for the most part. And it's about to become, well, obviously that, you know, Darkseid is still going to attack, but this is just looking horrible for Sydney right now. 4 seconds, it's going to be the final fight. USMC has a pulse bomb for Darkseid as Termo has popped that infrared sight. They've got the vision, they've got the answers, and Mooney with an early kill to a Kraken. Billa, you've got to find something with this Dragonblade. Can you at least find 2 kills? That's a start, it's 1, but he gets headshotted by Termo.
See ya later. Billa goes down. Mooney going to take taken back as well. The drop bears only with a couple of players left alive. Will this be enough? They're pushing it through. Shoyo now on the point. You can see though they're trying really hard to hold back point here. Point 2 here, but it is not going to be enough. 1:30 on the clock as this comes through in overtime. The drop bears with just 1 more life then on.
1 more life, 1 minute and 20 seconds. They at least get through the doors and they'll be able to push this payload to provide themselves some sort of relief. Darksiders don't have any current ultimates. They will have Transcendence coming up shortly, but a Kraken has one as well for the Sydney Drop Bears, but like with the sound barrier. The case for Sydney Drop Bears right now is their decisions. Do they just want to build up an ultimate economy of 6 ultimates and eventually try and win just one fight? Because that's maybe sometimes all it takes. A hack from Billa onto Punk. He's going to translocate back. Sydney being aggressive here with their positioning.
They certainly are pushing through. Darksider doing their most though. Molotov ready to go with that Trans-Punk with a self-destruct as well. The sound barrier is the ultimate of choice now for the Drop Bears. This might be enough to push them through most of the way to the line. You can hear that Winston coming through now with a Primal Rage as well. That's Mooney. He's actually going to go down to Kraken. Going to pick him up. Self-destruct still ready for Shoyo. 30 seconds on the clock. They're getting very, very close. And one by one, they're finding the picks they need. Shoyo with a self-destruct of Kraken with that trance ready to go as well. And Billa has managed to demech Punk. Again, one by one, Darksided trickling through, getting picked up as well. Shoyo going to re-get this mech back, and that should put them in a prime position to bring it through. It's all going to be down potentially to Molotov in this trance.
Yeah, what a great play from Duration, picking up 2 kills at the end as Shoyo just flexes on in, takes out Mooney immediately. The hack from Billa has been so efficient, and the EMP should just about spell the end for Darksided here in the overtime. It should be 3 points captured for the Sydney Drop Bears if they can make the kill here onto a Kraken. Duration with a bit of help from Shoyo finally confirms that a self-destruct at the back isn't able to find anyone from Punk. It actually did get the popping mech onto Shoyo, means he's in pilot mode. Diva form, a sound barrier from Bertlog. Should all but confirm this for the Sydney Drop Bears. They're not going to fall down too easily, and it's going to be 3 points confirmed.
3 points confirmed, which was almost won in a little bit just 2 minutes ago. So considering how phase 2 went here for the Drop Bears, that's not a bad result at all. Coming through with 2 sound barriers in that last consistent fight. One at the start, one at the end. Feels like that made quite a big difference as well. But really, Darksided just being forced to trickle on, trickle on. There's only so much you can do there.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, it wasn't great for Darksided, but you know, I think sometimes it's not all about you've lost it. I feel like Duration really stood up, picking up 2 kills, going to the back, trying to find Termo, because in an area like that for the Widowmaker, when you know the entire team's going to be directly in front of you, channeled into that sort of corridor feeling, to go and take out Termo so early on allowed them to push forward, and then once they got through those big doors, they were able to split out and start to really focus down, and it was a lot harder to then capitalize on the Sydney Drop Bears, and as you mentioned, Bertlog with those sound barriers keeps them alive and keeps them on the payload, and they were able to confirm it. No time in the time bank.
No.
But they would have taken this situation when they were barely about to capture the second point.
It's such a up and down story here for the Drop Bears. They had such a good attack here on point A. They did so well. They dove in. They got all the picks. Billa going so strong as well. And then phase 2 was just so average. I don't know whether that was necessarily just because Darksided actually did what they were supposed to do on defense, or maybe the Drop Bears just weren't up to it.
I wonder if possibly the technical pause that we had, you know, that might have killed momentum.
It can, right? It can sort of...
They want to roll, they got the first point, and...
Ruined your mojo, you know what I mean? You're feeling good, you're ready to go, then all of a sudden you're slowing down, and once again, you're just playing with your hand warmer.
Yeah, and for Darksided here on attack, they're going to be going with the Termo Genji, although I don't generally like to mention the compositions. By the way, Swilko's not going to say that Widowmaker. He's not. He hasn't quite got those skills. And Termo on the Genji, he does have those skills, though.
Wow, wouldn't that be a surprise, mate? We don't even need supports. We just want Widow. Let's not. That sounds like my ranked games, to be perfectly honest. So, Darksided are going to push this one out now on attack. Let's see if they can have the success that Drop Bears did when they started this one off. Billa going to be the one here on the Junkrat as well. The dive, once again, coming through so strong. A Darksided going to get the better. Not this time around. Drop Bears going to win this first fight.
It looks like there was a bit of miscommunication there. Termo sort of changed his target. He had a Kraken in his sights. Then he saw Bertlog flying by on the Mercy. And then that's where he went for the Swift Strike. But everyone else was then looking for a Kraken. And so possibly miscommunication there for the target calling of Darksided at 3 minutes and 10 seconds. When Sydney got this first point, it was a long drawn out fight, but it was in one fight.
It was, that's correct. There was no reset. There was no second attempt. They did very well. It just took them a little bit of time, but in the end, they did manage to put it through. And I think a lot of that came down to Darksided with some great healing, keeping the team alive far longer than they should have. Now, USMC, we're going to follow him on out. Bertlog going down straight away. No Resurrection available right now. And a Kraken gets picked up here. This should be it. You can hear the Riptide coming through. Who's it going to find? Needs to be a good one. It's going to be Termo, but that should not be enough 2:40 on the clock right now, and Darksided, you'd like to think will capture point A.
It's almost an exact mirror of what we saw the attack from Sydney Drop Bears, where Termo's Riptire got a kill, but it was too little too late.
Yep.
It is deja vu, and then a pause. Wow, this is scary.
Can we just not have
This is deja vu, man. I'm a little bit...
Yeah. Pausing because my Riptire wasn't as good as I wanted to be. Can I go again?
I mean, right now, the Riptires here in the Australian Contenders haven't been on point, but for Darksided, they get the point.
They do. And to be fair, as much as we were saying Drop Bears did a great job on attack, that's not a bad attempt either coming out from Darksided. They will probably be pretty happy with that time that they've received. And all they have to have now is a half-decent Phase 2.
Yeah, but it might be interesting to see if they also struggle in that streets phase, pushing forward, looking to get that second checkpoint, because right now I feel like we've got a mirror copy of the attack that we saw from the Sydney Drop Bears, and that could end up being the case here. It'll be interesting to see if Sydney change up their composition defensively. We saw that from Darksided, obviously getting off the Junkrat. I'm fully expecting that to happen, but I'm kind of interested to see what Bill is going to swap onto.
Yeah, well... Apparently, he has such a deep hero pool, right? There's a far deeper hero pool than we talked about for the majority of the regular season. So we'll see how that plays out now here when it comes to LAN. How do you think LAN's affecting these players, by the way? Do you think, obviously we've seen a few of them here before, probably about 12 months ago, we saw a number of Overwatch teams here, back when there was Atletico and half the guys from Blank Blue were on that team, and they got a fair bit of experience. To be fair, they've also grown about a foot since I saw them 12 months ago. So how do you think this plays out for these teams?
You know, I think that for a lot, some of the players that have been in this position before, they can obviously impart that wisdom and advice. And I think possibly these pauses actually help them, because it just calms them down a little bit. They're still sitting in their seats as we are getting back into the game now. But overall, I don't think it probably I think it's a mental thing until you actually sit down and start playing, and then it's just Overwatch.
Look at this. They're going to try and challenge the point here. We almost said that this was going to go through. Well, we did, I suppose, but we'll see whether that's the case. Actually, the Drop Bears coming through on defense. Maybe it's not as clean cut as we thought. Termo going to try that Dragon Blade. Doesn't find anyone. Shoyo going to be resurrected. Finally goes down once again straight away, though. Quats onto Molotov. Termo trying to stay alive, trying to do the damage here on attack. But maybe this is not going to be enough. And if that's the case, that is very much less than ideal here for Darkseid.
Jeez, they came out of the break, didn't they? Like a bat out of hell. And right now, Mooney just trying to stay alive in the corner. He's at about half health. Pulse Bomb comes out. Punk, though, reacts to it by popping that self-destruct to keep him alive. And he gets the kill onto Jordation, as well as Bertlog dying to Mooney. Darksided holding on by the skin of their teeth. They're throwing everything here at Sydney Drop Bears.
They stay alive, and they get very, very close. We're about 90% right now. Just 10% required again. Here comes that Riptire. Who's it going to hit? The answer is... Termo, that's not bad at all. You'll definitely take that one every day of the week. USMC going to go down as well. Molotov trying his best to keep the team alive, trying to keep their hopes and dreams. They do not want to lose this last third. They don't want to drop down to 65%. That is very much less than ideal, but that is very much what is going to happen. A minute on the clock. Darkseid is looking in a very tough position.
As you said, 1 minute left, and it looks like we are 50 seconds away from this series being tied up. USMC had a pulse bomb. He threw it next to Kraken and misses, and that means there is no ultimate available for Darksided right now. The closest being Molotov at 84% for a Transcendence. They're going to require that, and they're definitely going to require Mooney's Pommel Rage to try and disrupt the backline of the City Drop Bears. Molotov finds the pick with a bit of help. They take out Billa. Is Bertlog going to be able to get the revive? He does, but it's go time. Darksided push in.
Transcendence on the point. Still only needs 33% to push this through, and all the players now still alive. Termo goes down. Termo comes back up. We'll see if that makes a difference, but Jordation and Shoyo both finding kills, self-destruct. Not going to find a pick, but it is Shoyo actually going to get demeched in that situation. No support available right now for Darksided, and Mooney has used that ultimate as well. We'll see whether that makes a difference. Punk being picked up. Termo still alive with his Dragon Blade. That's what we're going to see. Finds a crack, and this might be enough now to get Darksided across the line in overtime. But Quats coming out with that Primal Rage, doing his best, trying to keep them off the point. Once again, both the tanks from the Drop Bears on defense, keeping their hopes and dreams alive here, trying to make this a one-point wonder.
Yeah, once Quats is still alive, the fight's nowhere near over. Billis too, still getting a lot of damage onto Punk's mech, and it's getting so low. Valkyrie from Swilko is gone now as well. Shoyo getting the mech onto Punk, pops Swilko, Turmo, Punk all dying for Darksided. Billa, Quats have been able to hold on and get the job done for the Sydney Drop Bears. An overtime bar goes on down, and we've got a tight series.
We certainly do. Wow, wow, wow. One apiece is where we stand right now. The Drop Bears picking that one up and doing so in, to be fair, a pretty impressive form here on defense. They picked Hollywood. It was their choice. Whilst maybe their attack was close, they still got it through, still got 3 points. 3-0. That's a shellacking if I've ever seen one. Pixie, wow.
Oh, I can't believe that I can say all that about Billa Sombra and worry about maybe what else they'll play if that's not working out, and then watch that Junkrat and sound like a fool. I mean, you could see Darksided, like their DPSs were terrified to dive Billa on their Junkrat. You compare that to how quickly Turmo went down on the defense. I mean, Billa stayed alive for so long in so many of those fights, got so much work done. Like, Riptide is notwithstanding, just the sheer damage output, the number of times I saw Turmo die while trying to dive Billa in what could have otherwise been real big turning points. I mean, that was a well-deserved win there by Sydney Drop Bears.
It certainly was. An AVRL of the two maps that Darksided had dropped across the season, one of them was Hollywood. Now, Hollywood is 2 for them that they've dropped on that one. Is that something to take away, or did they just struggle today?
But the thing is, this should have been a winnable map for Darksided, right? You see that second point defense. Darksided are going to be kicking themselves. They feel like they should have fully been able to defend that. I kind of feel the same way. You're now starting to see multiple fights where Darksided get the opening pick, such as that second defense, then not close out that fight. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter because they couldn't get past point A themselves. And I want to say, we've talked about the DPSs. I want to say Turmo Widow again, but actually the star of this map was Quats. Quats MVP 100%. He had a Primal Rage for pretty much every single defense, bar that first fight on that A defense. When you look at Quats, he actually built up a second Primal Rage in the same fight, and then in the final fight, Darksided came in. Guess what? Primal Rage.
Doing a ton of work here, Xenox. Overall, the Drop Bears, too strong for Darksided. Are we surprised at this? I know that I'm not surprised. I know that I'm not surprised. How about you?
Well, I mean, the fact that we, us three all predicted 3-2 to Darksided,
yeah, okay.
And I'm going to harp on what, AVRL said about Quats, and it really showed in that final fight. Quats, Billa, they were both alive on the point, and it was still kind of a, even matchup at that point. Darksided had the numbers, but Quats and Billa were able to stay alive. The Primal Rage usage of Quats is probably the best in the region, 100% the best Winston in the region, and he really showed it there and came out in the clutch and was able to hold out defensively, and that secured it for the Sydney Drop Bears. But, as you said, Darksided were actually the team that looked on top when they were defending. It was got about halfway through in that second point before they got captured at Sydney Drop Bears, and I thought that we were going to be 2-0, and it's almost like what we saw on the second round of Ilios, where we thought it was going to be Sydney Drop Bears taking it out, and it's just a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster, this series.
It is indeed, and I suspect that is what we're going to see for the rest of the day. Guys and girls, it's one apiece here in our first semi-final of Overwatch Contenders Australia. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully another 3 maps. See you soon.